Hi, so in this video we're going to carry on from where we left off last time, basically looking at averages still, but this time I'm going to look at a frequency table rather than raw data. So a frequency table is basically where the data's been collated a little bit more easily, so possibly you've got more data than you would normally have, but I'm giving you quite a simple example here. So we've got the number of leaves on some plants that somebody's looking at. So you've got 3 leaves, 4 leaves, 5 leaves, 6 leaves and 7 leaves, and the frequency just means how many plants have got 3 leaves on, how many plants have got 4 leaves on, and so on. Okay, so we've got the 3 things to find out, and if you remember from the last video I went through what each of those is, and basically the mean is where we add them up and divide by how many there are, median is the middle one when they're in order, and the mode is the one that's most frequently occurring. So the challenge then is to try and be able to work this out when you've got a frequency table rather than the raw data, because if it's all set out it's a bit more straightforward, but it's not a problem, honestly, we can still do it in the same kind of way. So thinking about the mean, first of all, we add them up and divide by how many there are. So if I've got 3 leaves and that happens 10 times, if it was raw data, what this would look like is I would have 3 written out 10 times, okay, followed by 4 14 times, and so on. So you can imagine what that looks like. Well, if I want to calculate the mean, then all I'm doing is I'm going to add up all of those numbers and divide by how many I've got. Well, if I add up 3 10 times, well, that's 30. But the lucky thing is that repeated addition is just multiplication. It's what we learn at primary school. So if I say that this, we'll call it X, and this is F for frequency, so the number of leaves will be X and the F to stand for frequency, then you'll notice I've very cunningly left another column on the end. Now that won't appear in an exam question or test that you might have, so you need to add that column on yourself. Okay, and then all you do is you just work out what that is. So if I had 3 appearing 10 times, it's the same as 3 times 10. 3 times 10 is 30. And then we do the same for the other numbers. So 4 times 14 is 56. 5 times 15 is 75. 6 times 6 is 36. And 7 times 5 is 35. Well, we're going to add them all up and divide by how many there are. Okay, so to add them all up, I just add up this column here, and the total for that column is actually 232. Now we divide by how many there are. So we've got how 232. Okay, and we're going to divide by however many there are. Now the common mistake is to go, and I've got 1 2 3 4 5 and divide by 5. That's wrong. There are not 5 plants that we're looking at. There are 10 plants that have 3 leaves on, and 14 plants with 4 leaves on, and 15 plants with 5 leaves on, and so on. So the number of plants we have is actually the total of this column here, which is the total frequency, and this is 50. So you'll notice that I've got those 2 boxes at the bottom there, underneath there, and they are our totals. So we do 232 divided by 50, and if we do that, the answer is 4.64. Okay. Now median and mode. Median is the next one. It's a little bit more complicated, but we can still do it. So the median, basically what we're looking for, and I would suggest that once we've got it in a frequency table, we've got enough data here that we can just literally go halfway. It would normally work quite simply with that. What we tend to do here is actually do ourselves a little running total, because you imagine if it was written out in order like this, you'd have the raw data. Now we don't want to write that out, but if we think to ourselves, okay, so we've got the number 3 written out 10 times, okay, I've got 50, halfway is 25, so the 3's is only going to get me to 10, and I'm going to put that there to the side. That's not enough. If I add on 14, I'm now at 24, okay. If I add on 15, I'm now at 39. if I add on 6, I'm at 45, and it should be no surprise that by the end you should have the total frequency. Now I'm looking for halfway, so I'm looking for the 25th value. Well, if I do all the 3s and all the 4s, I've only got 24 numbers. The next number, the 25th value, is 5, and so therefore that is my median. Okay. So I'm looking for when that happens. So it's between these two, and therefore it must be this one. This is my median. Okay. Right, now the mode is the one that appears the most frequently. So that's quite easy, because all you need to do here is look down this list here. This is the frequency for each one of those numbers. There are 10 3s, 14 4s, 15 5s, 6 6s and 5 7s. So the highest frequency is 15. So there's that number again. The mode for this question is 5. Okay? And again, just like with the raw data, you might have two numbers which have got the same frequency, in which case, and that's the biggest frequency, in which case it would be bimodal, or there might not be a mode at all, okay, if you've got lots of them with the same amount. Okay, so that's basically how you find averages from a frequency table.